Warning. I'm going to start off today's show by reading an excerpt from an article written by Jerry Dulac, and it is very shocking to say the least. Brace yourself, because apparently Arthur Smith stopped letting Russell Wilson change the plays after Russ threw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Bengals on December 1st. Insane. Here's the excerpt from the article. After going 6-1 in his first 7 starts by averaging 255 yards passing with a passer rating of 103.88, Wilson averaged just 193.6 yards and had a passer rating of 88.93 in his final 5 games. Yeah, remember that 6-1 start in those first 7 games. I'm talking about Russ being a top 5 quarterback again and us giving him a blank check in the offseason to be our franchise quarterback for the next 3, 4, 5 seasons. The Steelers averaged 28.4 points in Wilson's first 7 starts, but just 14.2 points in the final 5 games. The decline started after his season best performance in Cincinnati, in which he threw 3 touchdowns, had 8 completions of at least 20 yards, and completed passes to 10 different receivers. It resulted in 44 points and 520 yards of offense, the team's most since 2018. And a season-high 28 first downs. Yeah, it was an immaculate performance all around from Russ and the offense. Everyone involved. Awesome. It's exactly what you want to see out of an offense, particularly in 2024, 2025, in this modern era of the NFL. Everything you wanted to see. It looked like Russ turned back the clock, like officially. But it all changed after that. Why? According to several sources, Smith did not want Wilson changing the plays at the line of scrimmage like he did in Cincinnati and deviating from the game plan. Wilson's desire to attack with the pass and throw down the field clashed with Smith's run-first mentality, causing philosophical friction between the two. Now, the question remains, what do the Steelers do about that if they decide to re-sign Wilson? That's just insane. If true, this is just insane because it's absolute coaching malpractice. It's asinine. It's egregious. It's a fireable offense for Arthur Smith. Like it's crazy. I actually may have to apologize to Russell Wilson if this is true. Because if this is true, then yeah, we should be moving off of Arthur Smith instead of Russ. I'm shook, bro. Because I still don't know, even if this is true, I still don't know if Russ should hands down be the guy going forward or if that should be like set in stone because of his age and the fact, even with the questionable play calling down the stretch, Russ's play still wasn't great either. I mean, some of the turnovers, the interceptions, he wasn't all the way there either. Like he kind of cost us with his bad play, his so-so or average play. Let's say his average play, his mid play down the stretch. But if you're gonna say this late season collapse on offense was more because of Arthur Smith not letting Russ change the plays, I mean, bro, I said the same stuff about the offense with Canada and Ben and like how Canada, he was performing coaching malpractice with 7 in 2021, 7's final season. Like having Canada put the handcuffs on Ben's offense. It's fireable. 7 should be back in 2022, not Canada. Give Ben another year or 2 and give him a better offensive coordinator that more fits his style. Not Matt Canada, not a guy that wasn't even an average coordinator in college for the most part, let alone the pros. The funny thing is, too, whenever you look at this article and go back to the end of the season, we did say in those final 2 or 3 games, the offense was too conservative early. that Chiefs game on Christmas, the Bengals game in week 18. I don't even, did we even score a touchdown until it wasn't even until like the third quarter. But it just kept, it was like run, run, pass, run, chuck up the ball down the field and pray that a 50-50 ball got caught. It was a Canada style offense until we were down 2 scores and we had to open it up more, and we kind of got back into that game. But then also the Ravens regular season game, or the not the regular season game, the wild card game. We're down 21-0 at half. Now, part of that was just due to our defense getting absolutely manhandled. But the offense too, it's like, bro, we gotta pick this. We gotta step on the gas here. This is the playoffs. This is do or die. I was trying to say going into that wild card game, we need to learn from what we did in that Chiefs and Bengals game and not be too conservative coming out of the gate. Let Russ cook a little bit. Let him get into the shotgun. Let him air it out. Let him make some reads at the line of scrimmage. Like, it is still Russell Wilson. Like, the dude's a Hall of Famer. Even if he's not the same as what he was in Seattle, he was showing, at least for a good stretch of the season, that he was. And the whole question is that what's leaving us scratching our heads is like, what happened at the end of the season? What happened? And if this article's true, it's like maybe it isn't all on Russ, and it wasn't all on Russ to begin with. Let's not get that twisted. My question about Russ is like, he faded down the stretch, man. Is the age getting to him? Is he too limited when we go up against really good teams and he's not able to elevate to beat a Lamar Jackson, a Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes? And the weird part about that is, you know, with the game that this article brings up, that Bengals game against Joe Burrow, he did outdo Joe Burrow. He threw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. He looked completely fine. He looked like an elite quarterback. But the end of the season made me question if he really could do it when the weather got colder and the moments got the brightest and the games got bigger and bigger and the opponents got stronger and stronger. Like, it how he finished and how this offense finished made me seriously question it. But it doesn't make sense, bro. Like, it really doesn't. Why, after that Cincy game, would that be the game to say, hey, Russ, you're making too many audibles here, man. Let's stick to the game plan. 500 yards of total offense, 40-plus points. Russ starts for 400 yards. What? Like, what? It doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't. Like, I get it. These dudes have egos and they want things done a certain way, but you got to put that aside. When something's working, it's working. Don't break something, or don't fix something that ain't broken. Like, come on, bro. It is interesting. The offense really did take a nosedive after that Bengals game. Because it wasn't only those games that went 0-5. Think of the Browns game on Thursday night in the snow. They only put up 9 points in that first half. Now, some of that, I remember the post game, what I was talking about and what I think caused us to lose that. I think in that first half, it was just like a calamity of errors. What could go wrong did go wrong. We missed our 4th down. Boz missed the field goal. So it was just that was a weird game. But still, like, the offense, there's no doubt about it. The offense got worse after that Bengals game. Because even in the second Browns game, no. I'm thinking, I'm getting my schedule mixed up a little bit here. Yeah, because I think never mind. I think the Bengals game was, the Bengals game was in between the 2 Browns games, right? Yeah, I think that's what happened. But no, yeah, the Browns game we won, but still the offense, the Browns game at home we won. But offense in the first half, the first 2.5 quarters, I mean, that was lackluster too. Just like how we're talking with the games we went 0-5. Does this come back to Tomlin? I mean, it kind of does. You're the head guy. So you're either like allowing this to happen where you're siding with Smith on his game plan, or you got to go back to your decision to hire Smith in the first place, knowing his run first approach. And then when you have the decision between Justin Fields, who's more of a running quarterback that fits to Arthur Smith's style and younger, you made the decision to go with Russ in the midseason. And the weird part about it is it did work. Like it did. It looked like a great decision. We're 10-3 and everything's gravy until it didn't. And it didn't in the most critical part of the season. And that's the problem. So one way or another, this like you also got to look back to Tomlin and some of these decisions and how he's orchestrated the offense or implemented the offense from a coordinating standpoint, game plan standpoint, or the quarterback. Like that, this is all part of it too. And I'm sure that's going to be some of the stuff at play with the decision on the quarterback going forward. How do Smith and Russ get along? And we're seeing multiple of these reports pop up this offseason. And this one has to be coming from someone in Russ's camp, right? Or maybe some people within the organization that want Russ back. My question is though, because it's just what's the truth in all this? That's what I'm wondering. Where is the real truth? Because after you read it, you can look back on those final 5 and 6 games and say, yeah, the offense weirdly did get more conservative, especially to start some of these games. Like we were lighting it up against the Bengals. We had a good offense performance against the Commanders middle of the season. Jets, that one was more in the second half, but I think part of that was due to Russ just getting up to speed. He was out for those first 6 weeks because of the calf. His first game back. Giants, yeah, we weren't struggling on offense in that game either. Just very, very strange. Very strange. Because you do wonder, like, who's the common denominator with Russell Wilson-led offenses over the last 3 or 4 years and the poor offensive outputs and the question marks surrounding Russ being able to still lead a team at an elite level. Like Russ is the common denominator, whether it's last season in Seattle, the 2 years in Denver, and then this season in Pittsburgh. Like he's the common denominator in all this. Like maybe part of Smith's approach is due to Russell Wilson being limited and not being prime Russell Wilson, which I could see too. But then it's like, bro, I mean, it worked. It worked in the middle of the season. But maybe teams started to find that out, and Smith had to look and say, bro, we can't keep doing it the way we've been doing it because teams are starting to figure this out. And if we don't get more of a run game going, like this is going to collapse. And it collapsed anyway. So, it doesn't matter. I honestly, yeah, everyone's at fault one way or another. I had my question marks about Smith and his game planning and his play calling those last 2 or 3 games. I think for the most part, he had a pretty damn good season. But I have my questions there. Obviously, we have our questions about Coach T, and we have our questions about Russ. 6-6 this year. Those last however many games, we saw the stats in the article. 193.6 yards, passer rating 88.93. Had the turnovers. Looked limited. How much of that really is on Smith and his play calling, right? Or his I guess dictation of Russ, like you can't be making these audibles, you can't be airing it out like you were in the middle of the season. How much of that was really on Smith? How much? I don't know, man. Like I have my questions in all 3 phases: the quarterback, the OC, and the head coach. If it's true though, I mean it's absolute. It's coaching malpractice. Absolute coaching malpractice. Because when Russ was cooking, it was working, particularly in that Cincy game. Because we were throwing the ball early and often. You could tell he was making checks. He was getting the ball out quick, dumping it off to the running backs. You can't do that, man. When you have a quarterback like that has been in the league this long and is a Hall of Famer and was showing at that point that he did still have the ability, you got to let them do their thing. You got to. You got to put the egos aside. So, like I said, I just don't know. I don't know. I might have to apologize to Russ here. What does it mean for quarterback going forward? What should we be doing with OC? Obviously, Arthur Smith is back. Now I feel less confident about that. Again, I had my questions about Smith and how he ended the season, but I was good with giving him another year for sure. But now it's like, bro, what is this? What is this? I don't know what to make of it because there's obviously some sort of slant coming from who's leaking this information. It's a pro Russ side, but is there truth to it? Probably. How much truth? Let's look at Russell Wilson's last 4 seasons. He's kind of been the common denominator in a bunch of lackluster offenses there that he's been leading. And then you got Tomlin, who I think it's fair to question some of his decisions he's been making for the Steelers offense over the last several years in terms of like coordinator, quarterback fit, and quarterback development, and having a vision and direction for the modern era there. I don't know if this article doesn't clear anything up. It doesn't at all. I think it has me questioning more. It has things a little bit more convoluted here on what happened at the end of the season. Either way, everyone failed then. Like it's just a failing effort from top to bottom. I don't know, bro. Like if Russ comes back, then it's like I don't want Arthur Smith back. Maybe I'm a little bit more open after seeing this report to bringing back Russ, but I don't want Arthur Smith back then. I think you got to pick and choose. It's almost like the Big Ben Canada thing, man. Tomlin chose sticking with Canada. Obviously, terrible choice. Absolute terrible choice. Stuck with Canada. And then when, the Kenny Canada era hit its breaking point, we moved off of Canada. I think it'd be the same thing here with Russ and Arthur Smith. You got to pick one. If this thing's like that contentious, and it's probably not contentious to where like there's disrespect involved between the two, but obviously each side, Arthur Smith, Russ, they've had success in the league to a certain extent, and each have their own offensive philosophy and how they want to do things. I think to get the fullest out of either, whether it's Arthur Smith's scheme or it's Russ being the quarterback, I think you're going to have to pick one and get the opposite to go hand in hand with that. So for Arthur Smith, I think it's pretty clear he would want Justin Fields. If you're going to go with Arthur Smith, Justin Fields got to be your quarterback. If you're going to go Russ, you got to move off of Arthur Smith, but they're not. We know they're not going to do that. So if anything, it makes it even more clear to me that this team should go with Fields in 2025. If they're going to stick with Arthur Smith, I'm just basing that off of. I'm also basing it off of Fields being 25, him going 4-2 last year, him playing good, him still having all the upside. But I'm also basing off of the Steelers' decisions they've already made going into next season, and one of them is keeping Arthur Smith. Maybe it's a little bit of a different story if they decided to fire Arthur Smith a week ago, but he's still here. What are you guys thinking on this? Manny Meek says, this feels like a targeted leak to justify bringing Russ back over Fields, but if it's true, I take back what I said. That's what I'm saying, man. I don't know, bro. I really don't know. It does feel like a very convenient leaked report. That is definitely pro Russ. Is there a little bit of truth in it? Like maybe Russ wasn't making the audibles on the first 2 series, but after that he was able to do. I don't know, man. I don't know how much. Yeah, how much is this report valid? Maybe there's a little truth, but is it all the way true? If it's all the way true, then again, you got to move off of Smith. This is coaching malpractice. But Russ also had his poor play that, you got to look at. He had some of his own faults too. A lot of confusion, bro. Manny Meeks also says they didn't move off Austin. I doubt they move off of Smith. They're definitely not moving off of Smith. Rooney said it in one of his interviews that Arthur Smith's going to be back. He thinks Smith will do better in a year too. And then Manny goes on to say, plus Fields fits the scheme better rather have our QB and OC on the same page than arguing, right? And that's the thing. I don't think Russell Wilson or Arthur Smith were arguing or any. You know what I mean? I don't think there was disrespecting, but I don't think there's this huge beef between the two because, I mean, you know how Russell Wilson is. He's not one to be out here yelling and making a scene. Same with Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith seems like a pretty chill dude, but yeah, I'm sure they were butting heads in like a professional standpoint. And if we want the Steelers to be heading in the right direction as an offense, we can't have that. We can't have that. We can't be in a way like being our own opponents, being our own worst enemy. We already have trouble against opposing teams, so we can't be like putting the parking brake on our forward motion here. And I think this would be an example of that.